Welcome to part 2 of How to Draw a Face. In this episode we will be focusing on facial detailing as well as hair. As you can see, I have added a new tracing paper on top of the existing drawing and we will be continuing on. So if you have started with a plan of what sort of personality this character should have, you would know exactly more or less of what sort of features you would want him to have in regards to his hair, whether it's serious or comical. I'm beginning with comical because, again, this is an experiment. It's nothing set in stone at the moment. So I'm going to give the character a couple sideburns. And this is just, again, to show really how far you can push in regards to how this character would look like in regards to his hair. But in any case, this is not even the limits of where you can go, as you will see. Right now, I'm going with the Elvis motif. I'm going to give him a pompadour. I'll give him nice, pronounced sideburns, as you can see. I'll recede his hair a little bit, just to enhance that pompadour that I will give him. And then we will see what the end result will be. Right now I'm not really very happy with this, because I do feel that this character should be a bit more serious than this. So I'll attempt to bring his hair a little bit closer to the actual shape of his head, but I will keep those receding lines over his forehead. I do believe that does suit him well. And the sideburns, I'm still having second thoughts about it, but I will still go into facial hair and see where we can go with that as well. So I'm just using very light brush strokes with my mechanical pencil, so it'll be easier to erase afterward. And I'm using single lines to sort of give me an idea of the direction his hair should go. So it's always good to, if it's at the top of the forehead, that the line should go vertically up, as to, let's say, if you want his hair to be pulled back, as it is right now. And then as you keep going towards the sides, the lines get a little bit more perpendicular to his actual hairline. So in this case, now they slowly start going towards a more horizontal fashion. And don't be shy to shade a little bit. Give you a good idea of his appearance and how you want it to look like. So I'm quite happy with that right now. Now let's start doing the facial hair. I'm going to give him a nice little handlebar mustache. Just again pushing those limits, but not really that much. But we might always come back and with something interesting, something that we may keep from going comical. I'm actually doing I think I'm going to do a beard actually, rather than a mustache by itself. Again, this is a serious character, and a beard does give him a sense of roughness, of, you know, this man has seen and done some things that maybe they're not so comical after all. Again, don't be shy to shade. There is a downside to shading too much, which I will show later when you use your eraser. But if it must be done, it must be done. Can't be helped. And he's actually looking quite like the sort of character that we are looking for. But now I'm starting to have second thoughts on the old beard at the moment. I was wondering if maybe Yeah, I will erase this beard. I'm not very happy with it right now. I think it's too much. So I'll just draw the erasing lines where I'll just cut the beard off and I'll start erasing it. Now, this is the problem with erasing, and you'll see how dirty my eraser gets. And there is a way to fix it, and it's smudging the drawing. It's not pretty. And look how dirty it is. No. There is a way to fix it, though. You literally just take any piece of clean paper and you rub the eraser on it until it is clean on all sides, as you can see. And you just take it away and you keep on erasing the drawing itself until you are happy with it. And voila! So now, I wasn't too happy with the beard, but I do like the idea that it gives of how rough the character is. So what I will do, I will redraw the beard, but ever so lightly I will shade a stubble on. I want him to have the appearance of, let's say, having 3 days without shaving, 3 or 4 days, depending on how far along I want his beard to look like. Right now he's actually resembling the Punisher, which is another one of my favorite characters. So now with your finger, you can do a very simple technique of smudging the shading that we've just done. So it gives it a nice little even appearance on his face. So now I'm just outlining, just giving a couple detailing lines so I'm aware of where, if I want to accentuate some of his features, like around these lips, on his hairline, and then moving on to his eyebrows. So this is a moment where you can start to put a bit more detail on his eyes as well, on his eyelashes, on his iris. So it's always good just to have one half of his iris blackened and the other half of his iris left in white, so it kind of gives that sheen effect. Now this is quite a small drawing, so we don't need to go into heavy detail when it comes to his eyes. If we were doing, let's say, a close-up of his face, or an extreme close-up, on a nice big A3 size page, or even A1, then yes, we could go crazy with the detail on his eyes. But because this is purely instructional and because it's so scaled down, I don't see the point on adding eyelashes to the level of detail that we're trying to achieve. So for now, we'll just outline some of these features. Now moving on to the eyebrows. Again, very little strokes. You don't need to go too hard on it. It's always good to go lightly at first, because then it will be easier to fix any mistakes. Just accentuating his temple. again, going back to the skull as the structure, that's where the ridge of his temple would go, from the skull to the back. And then under the eyes, had a couple wrinkles over there just to show a bit of aging. Also makes him look a little bit more tired. It's these imperfections that really make a human being. So now comes the time to add these little details on. Going to accentuate the space between his eyes, the bridge of his nose, that area between his nose and his cheek. His nostrils. And we move down. Again, eyes, nose, and mouth. So it may seem very repetitive. So we're going through the same steps we've gone before. But the more you do so, the more used to you get. And before you know it, when you become much more familiar with what you're doing, you can even start to draw a face from different areas. So you don't necessarily need to start from the eyes. You can start at the nose. But it's very, very important to start planning where you want to place these. Hence those horizontal lines. So you got your eye line, your nose line. And right now, at this stage, all we're doing, just adding that extra bit of detail. So the darker areas of his face is where we would start adding the detail. So again, the bite line, his nostrils, his pupils, the iris. And now moving to the jaws, chin, cheekbones. Really, the main basis for this exercise right now is prepping up for the next stage of drawing. And it's looking really good. I mean, if you had to look back again from when we began and comparing it to where you are now, you've really gone a long distance. And now adding these details on the ears, again, I must reiterate, draw, draw, draw. If there is one element in anatomy that you feel it's very hard for me to do, it's just too complicated, and how the flesh and the cartilage comes together, I say keep on drawing. Grab all the references you can get from anywhere, from Google, you name it, and just draw that over again from different angles and different positions. And then by the time you start doing your own characters, you realize, all right, I know what this looks like seen from here. Now going back to the jugular again and the throat line. And there's our character. He looks very much settled. I think this is what I want his final appearance to look like. You could right now add other elements like scarring and like damage and wounds to his face. If, let's say, if he's a soldier and he's coming from war, this is when you start applying these little details. But I'm not. Again, these series of videos are supposed to be a template for your own character. So for now, I'll just add a bit more detailing. When it comes to things that define his personality, that will be up to you. And right now what I'm doing is I'm adding some wrinkles, some crow's feet on his eyes, maybe some more wrinkles around his mouth. And the more detail you give, the better it will look. So what I'm doing right now, I'm literally dotting where I want stubble to be, and so maybe where you might see little pieces of hair. Just accentuating his forehead as well. And we're almost done. Yeah. And this seems to be one character flaw of myself. I tend to get lost in detailing. But again, the end results tend to be better. I was just adding a couple wrinkles on his lips, a couple folds of skin over his eyes. And our character would be ready for the next and final part of this series of videos. Adding a bit of shading here on his hair again. And we are ready for the next stage, which is shading, the final part of this series of videos. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.